You're the only match. The doctor didn't soften his voice. If you refuse, he won't survive the next 20 minutes. 18-year-old Aisha Carter stared at the name on the digital chart. Daniel Whitmore. Her pulse stumbled. The hallway outside Trauma Bay 3 felt too bright, too clean, too quiet for what she was hearing. Nurses moved with controlled urgency. A gurney rolled past. A monitor beeped somewhere behind the glass. He lost too much blood during the collision, the doctor continued. Rare type. AB negative. We checked the regional registry. You're the only immediate donor we have. Only? Through the narrow window in the door, Aisha saw him, unconscious. An oxygen tube taped across his face. Bruises spreading like shadows along his jaw. The man who once filled rooms with authority now lay motionless beneath white sheets. We need your answer, the doctor said. The operating room is waiting. 20 minutes. Aisha's fingers curled slowly at her sides. 20 minutes to decide whether the man who shattered her family deserved another breath. She hadn't come to the hospital for this. She had come to bring her mother dinner. Her mother worked night shifts now. Housekeeping, third floor, oncology wing, quiet work, invisible work. But fate had other plans. A hospital administrator had overheard her rare blood type during a routine health screening months ago. It was in the system. When Daniel Whitmore was rushed in after a highway crash, bleeding heavily, someone ran the database. Her name came up. Now she stood 10 feet away from the man who had changed everything. The doctor studied her expression. Do you know him? Aisha didn't answer right away. Yes, she said finally. I know him. The doctor waited. She didn't explain. He didn't press. But time kept moving. 18 minutes. 2 years earlier, Daniel Whitmore had stood at the head of a glass conference table. Sunlight poured through the windows that day. The city skyline glittered behind him. Her mother had been presenting quarterly results. Calm, professional, prepared. Aisha had been sitting quietly in the back, waiting to take her mother to lunch afterward. Then he interrupted. We need leadership that fits the company's image, he said. The room had gone still. Her mother blinked once. I'm not sure I understand. He leaned back in his chair. I think you do. The implication hung heavy in the air. Around the table, no one spoke. No one defended her. 10 minutes later, security was escorting her mother out. Publicly. Humiliated, Aisha remembered the sound of her mother's heels against the marble floor. Slow, controlled. She hadn't cried inside the building, only in the parking garage, when she thought no one could see. That was the day their savings started shrinking. The day-night shifts began. The day Aisha memorized his name. Aisha! The doctor's voice pulled her back to the present. We're at 15 minutes. A nurse approached more gently. If you choose not to do this, she said quietly, it's your right. No one here will judge you. Her right? Through the glass, a team adjusted equipment around Daniel's bed. One nurse pressed gauze against his side where blood had seeped through bandages. He didn't look like the man from the conference room. He looked smaller, human, fragile. What happens if I say no? Aisha asked. The doctor met her eyes directly. He won't make it to surgery. No drama. Just fact. Her throat felt dry. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and something metallic. 14 minutes. Her mind raced, but her body stood still. She imagined walking away, going upstairs, handing her mother the food container, never mentioning this moment, letting the universe balance itself. Would that be justice? Or would it be surrendering to the same smallness he once showed? Her mother's voice echoed in memory. Don't let someone else's bitterness teach you who to become. At the time, Aisha had rolled her eyes. Now the words felt heavier. Real. Through the window, Daniel's chest rose and fell unevenly beneath the ventilator. He would never know who stood in this hallway. He would never know whose name had appeared in the system. The power sat quietly in her hands. 13 minutes. The doctor stepped closer. We need your decision. Aisha inhaled slowly. The clock ticked, and for the first time she realized this wasn't about him. It was about who she would be when this hallway was empty. 12 minutes. The red numbers on the wall clock felt louder than the machines. Aisha stepped closer to the glass. For a moment she imagined something dangerous. She imagined him waking up someday, never knowing how close he had come to the edge, never knowing that the girl whose mother he dismissed had stood here. Would that be punishment enough? Or would walking away be easier? Her jaw tightened. Does he have family? She asked quietly. They're on their way, the doctor replied. Traffic delay. He may not last that long. 12 minutes. The hallway suddenly felt smaller. She watched a nurse adjust the blanket over his legs. He looked older than she remembered. Grey at the temples, lines carved deeper into his forehead. Power fades quickly when stripped of a title. The nurse beside her spoke again. You don't owe him anything. The words hit harder than expected. No, she didn't owe him. But what did she owe herself? Another memory surfaced. Not from the conference room. From later. The night her mother had come home exhausted after her first cleaning shift. Aisha had been angry. Furious. How can you not hate him? She had demanded. Her mother had sat at the kitchen table, peeling off rubber gloves slowly. Hate is heavy, she'd said. We don't carry what isn't ours. Aisha hadn't understood then, but she understood now. If she walked away, the weight wouldn't stay in that hospital room. It would follow her. It would settle somewhere inside her chest, and it would stay there. 11 minutes. The doctor's pager buzzed. They're ready, he said quietly. We're out of time. Aisha turned away from the glass. Her heart pounded, but her voice came out steady. Where do I sign? Relief flashed across the nurse's face. Not dramatic, just human. The consent form was placed into her hands. The paper trembled slightly. Not from fear, from the gravity of it. 10 minutes. She stared at the signature line. This wasn't forgiveness. This wasn't reconciliation. This wasn't weakness. This was choice. And she would own it. The pen pressed to paper. A slow, deliberate signature. Aisha Carter. The doctor moved instantly. Prep her. The hallway shifted into motion. Bright lights. Controlled voices. The cold edge of the donation bed beneath her arms. A nurse secured a cuff around her upper arm. You might feel lightheaded, she said gently. I'm okay, Aisha replied. Through a narrow opening in the curtain, she saw them wheel him towards surgery. For one brief second, their paths aligned in the corridor. He passed without knowing, without seeing, without understanding. The irony was quiet, not dramatic, just real. The needle slid in. She focused on her breathing. Inhale, exhale. On the other side of the wall, surgeons worked against the clock. Her blood moved through the line. Steady, intentional. She closed her eyes and let go of the anger she'd carried for 2 years. The surgery lasted nearly an hour. When it was over, the doctor approached her recovery chair. He's stable, he said. You got him through. Aisha nodded once. She didn't ask for details. She didn't ask to see him. She simply sat there, a small white bandage pressed against the inside of her arm. Her body felt lighter, drained, but steady. Later that night, as she walked upstairs to find her mother, she paused outside the oncology wing. For a moment, she almost told her, almost said the name, almost explained everything, but she didn't. Her mother looked up from her cart and smiled softly. You look tired, she said. Long day? Aisha smiled back. Something like that. Downstairs, in a private recovery room, Daniel Whitmore slept beneath clean white sheets. Alive! Because the daughter of the woman he once discarded had chosen not to become smaller than the harm done to her. And he would never know. Daniel Whitmore woke up 3 days later. The room was silent except for the low hum of machines. Sunlight filtered through half-closed blinds. His body felt heavy. Weak. Alive! A nurse noticed his eyes open and moved closer. You're lucky, she said. Another few minutes and we wouldn't be having this conversation. His throat was dry when he spoke. What happened? Severe blood loss, emergency surgery. He swallowed. And the blood? The nurse hesitated. You had a donor. His brow tightened. Who? She shook her head. The donor requested anonymity. That answer stayed with him, not just that day, for weeks. Someone had made a decision that saved his life. Someone who owed him nothing. And he would never know their face, never know their name, never know the history between them. Daniel Whitmore returned to work months later. Quieter, more careful. People noticed changes, but didn't understand them. He listened more, interrupted less. The arrogance that once filled rooms was gone, replaced by something harder to define. Perspective, maybe, or fear. Across the city, Aisha Carter moved forward with her life. College applications, late nights studying. Her mother still worked evenings, but the weight felt lighter somehow. Not because the past had been corrected, but because it no longer owned them. Aisha never told her mother what happened in that hospital hallway. Not out of secrecy, out of certainty. Some choices are made to protect who you are, not to change someone else. The man who once ruined her mother's life survived. Not because he deserved it, but because she chose not to let bitterness decide for her. And the most powerful part of the story is that the greatest act of mercy in his life came from someone he never saw, never thanked, never recognized, and never will.